Welcome to episode 75 of the Whatnauts review show, where every week we pick a story and we talk about it. This could be a movie, TV show, anime, manga, comic book, audio drama, all kinds of entertainment. We watch it, read it, listen to it, and then we come back here and we talk about it. My name is Melissa Wilkinson, and I am joined as always by Kyle Springer.
Hello, that's me.
Hello.
That
How
is
have you
me.
been this week, Kyle?
My week has been pretty good. Nothing really new at work. It's just one of those weeks that like skated by with like nothing really new happened. It was just good.
Those can be nice.
Yeah, right. No curve balls.
It's like your week was preparing you for the film we are discussing today, which is
right.
the biggest curveball of them all. It's like, oh, he's got to be as normal as possible before this happens.
Exactly.
This is all of your weird for the week in one 82-minute dosage.
Exactly. You had a like family event thing this weekend.
We planned it and then we didn't. But by then it was too late to call you and be like, do you want to record at the regular time again?
Oh, well.
So instead, I just got to sleep in on a Sunday morning for once.
There you go. That's always nice to get to sleep in.
I did have a good weekend, though. I baked a giant cake. I recorded 2 other podcasts. I played mini golf for the first time in a couple years.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Did you have one with like a big windmill? What was the like craziest thing that it had?
It was vaguely Hawaiian themed. This was a mini golf course / snow cone stand.
Okay. Was there like a volcano thing there?
No, it's not that big. They just had one big static, like fiberglass statue of a wolf, I guess. I guess wolves live in Hawaii. Otherwise, why would they have put it on this miniature golf course?
Maybe there are Hawaiian wolves out there. Sure. Who knows?
You did have to knock your ball on like a little bridge across a pond and watch it go up the bridge to the other end of the course. That one was nifty.
There you go. Good stuff. But Melissa, what are we talking about this week?
We are talking about a movie called Rubber. This is from 2010. This is directed by Quentin Dupieux, a French name I should have looked up how to pronounce since last week when we picked it. Yeah. The log line for this is: a sentient tire rolls through the desert, using the power of its mind to make small animals and human heads explode.
This I remember when like the trailer came out for this. If I remember correctly, it was like, let's see, when did this come out exactly? It was 2010, yeah. So I guess May 2010 is when it debuted in the Cannes Film Festival. So yeah, I kind of remember the trailer like when I was in college. One day I was up in our cafeteria with my laptop. I was on Twitter, I was on Tumblr. I just I was plugged in to the internet, and here comes this trailer for this hot new film, and I'm just like, what? This is a thing?
It is?
This is 2010, and this is a thing? No, I know. It was something I kind of saw, I thought was ridiculous, and then just wrote it off. And never thought about it again. And then here you are in 2019 being like, let's just pitch some of the most ridiculous films out there. Rubber. And I was like, yes, let's do that one.
I built the whole series of pitches around Rubber because my older brother watched this movie and told me about it probably approximately when it did come out.
Okay.
He's of a similar disposition to me. The Wilkinsons love whimsy.
Sure.
We just want to watch that weirdest thing possible. So he told me about this, and the legend of it has lived in the back of my head for years. And I
The
suddenly
tiger.
remembered it again last week.
There you
I'm like,
go.
oh, I gotta make Kyle watch this.
Well, it worked because that is the one I picked. Um, I also partly picked this one. I didn't mention it to you last week, but I partly picked this because someone mentioned this film to me like a month or two ago, just
Oh,
in passing. I don't remember exactly how it came up, but was just like, I actually really like that film Rubber about the sentient tire, and I was just like, huh, okay, moving on. So here we go.
yes.
I mean, you already kind of mentioned the premise. It is what it says it is, right? It's about this tire that just wakes up and becomes sentient and then just starts killing things.
And falls in love. Oh,
Yeah.
also the tire's name is Robert.
Yes.
At no point in the film do they call him Robert except for like over the end credits. It's
Yeah.
like the names of all the actual human actors and then and
And
Robert.
Robert. That's fantastic. Um, I look. This is a very strange film. I think this is one to go in not expecting much, but just being
Yeah.
like, you know what? I'm just gonna sit down and enjoy this stupid ass film for what it is. Because
Yes.
I had a great time watching this.
Me
I
too.
thought it was hilarious. So I definitely recommend it in that sense. I will say, and this will come up in spoilers, it can get a little bit self-masturbatory at times. So
Yeah.
we'll
Yeah.
get into that in more spoiler stuff. But do you have anything else to add for like general thoughts and
I started this movie and I paused at 2 minutes in and
uh-huh,
I texted my friend, I could do a whole episode only about these first 2 minutes.
right? It has a
I know
great
normally
opening.
normally this is where we'll give you like a little bit more, just a bit of a broader synopsis of what the topic of the week is about. I just want to recap to the listener the entire first like 3 minutes of this movie
Go for it.
because you're in a barren American Southwest desert. There's some nerdy looking guy with a briefcase, and there's a bunch of wooden chairs. And then slowly a car drives up, and it purposefully knocks into and destroys every single wooden chair, while the man with the briefcase just stands and watches. The car parks, the trunk opens up, and a man in a sheriff's uniform climbs out. And he walks up and he reaches in through the open driver's side window, and the driver hands him a glass of water.
Mm-hmm.
And then the sheriff stands there in front of the car and he speaks to you directly, the audience, and he says, in Steven Spielberg's E.T., why is little alien brown? No reason. In the movie Love Story, why do the two main characters fall madly in love with each other? No reason. In the movie JFK, why is the president shot by a stranger? No reason. Every movie has got some element of no reason to it.
Right?
And it's
It's
just like the film is setting up, all right, guys, this is what we're doing. This is the premise. Like, we are as boldly, as directly as we could be stating it. Here it is.
yeah,
There's a man with a badge telling you, so you gotta listen.
exactly.
So he goes through this whole thing, and then he dumps out the glass of water, climbs back into the car, and drives away. And just the man with the briefcase is still standing there. It's the weirdest, boldest opening to a movie I've maybe ever seen. And like, I'm certain this is too weird. It's too self-referential and meta comedic for most people, but like, I ain't never seen anything like it.
Yeah,
So I'm
right?
happy.
There you go. Yeah, I really liked the opening to the film because it sets the tone immediately and sets expectations. This is really weird. It's nonsensical. It's not gonna make sense. Who gives a fuck, right?
Yeah.
So let's get into a little bit of housekeeping, and then we
Sure.
will jump into spoilers and start discussing the film some. Last week here on the review show, we covered volumes 1 and 2 of She-Hulk from 2004, written by Dan Slott. And we did this in honor of some of the new Marvel Disney Plus TV shows that were announced, and that was the one we picked. So we got to read some She-Hulk stuff for the first time. I had never read
Either.
anything with She-Hulk in it. So that was an experiment for sure. You guys should absolutely go check it out. Because kind of like this film, it almost kind of breaks the fourth wall and does some very meta stuff.
Yes.
So you should go check it out for sure. That being said, if you can hear my roommate's dog barking in the background, she is saying hi.
Hi.
We would normally have a new episode of the Captain's Log for you guys to check out. But Melissa, you were away. I was supposed to record that with Jess, but then Jess fell sick at the last minute. So I was like, you know what? Just take the week off. Let's have some fun. But we do have we have more than one podcast, so you guys should absolutely go check out the Captain's Log as well. You guys can find our podcasts by searching the Whatnauts wherever you get your podcasts, and we will pop up. You can also go to thewhatnauts.com. That being said, let's get into spoilers.
Yes.
Here we go. She's the dog and wants to get up on the bed, but the other dog is on the bed, and so she's just gonna sit there and bark the entire time until that dog gets off the bed. So I kind of mentioned I had a great time watching this film. I didn't know what to expect. I thought it was going to be a little bit more of a horror film than it was. That's
I think I'd heard that too.
Wasn't really. There are some gruesome moments, so I guess in the gore it was kind of more like a horror film. There you see some animals explode, and you see some heads explode, and stuff like that. But I enjoyed it a lot for the most part, and I loved that opening scene, just of like here's what to expect. It is so good, it is so strange, and I think it has a great premise. And I maybe it's just me because I'm the art student and I went to art school, and it has this like artsy fartsy, like in a lot of films there's this weird element of no reason. A lot of the great films have it. We're going to explore that with this film, this whole idea of no reason. And we're just going to make a film for no reason, and things are going to happen for no reason. And it's just like, it's a celebration of that, which I think is fantastic. But like I said, it also kind of gets a little bit self-masturbatory in the way it presents that. Does that make sense?
I was okay with it because it's artsy, but it's not really like highfalutin or pretentious about it. Like it's not,
like avant-garde.
Yeah, it's just like down in the dirt and the and the rubber and the pool water and the weird guts of everything.
Right.
Like it's so just casual and weird. So like it never got like, okay, all right, okay, that's too much, until like the very final shot where Robert, after having been exploded, has been reincarnated into
As a
a tricycle,
tricycle.
and he drives past all these other tires and brings them to life. It's only the final shot of the movie when Robert leads all the tires to Hollywood that it was like, oh, all right, that one is a little bit too self-congratulatory. But it was only
Yeah.
up until the final shot.
It
The
like
rest of it, I think I liked.
I had this weird image in my head as I was thinking about this of it. Like, have you ever seen two people get into an argument about something, and then someone just gives in, is like, fine, you want me to make you a goddamn sandwich, I'll make you a goddamn sandwich. I'm gonna put the
Yeah.
fucking ham and then the cheese and then the mustard and then the mayonnaise and then bread, and here's your fucking sandwich, eat the fucking sandwich. Right?
Yes.
It's maybe not that vulgar or that like aggressive, but that's kind of the vibe that I got of just like, you want an artsy fartsy film? Here, I'll make an artsy fartsy film, and it's gonna be about nothing, because that's what most of these films are about. It's just have fun. It's just a film. Who cares? Just watch the film, enjoy
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, it does not, I think up until that final shot, it doesn't take itself too seriously, cuz like in that list of movies that the sheriff is giving you at the beginning, it's like, in JFK, why does that stranger shoot the president, which is preposterous. We all know, because that's what happened in real life.
Right.
Like it is building jokes into that larger joke premise. Like that right there is the pen where it's like, yeah, I mean, we're not, this isn't super, we're not being super artsy and forward thinking about this. This is
Right.
also a joke. This is an experiment and a joke.
Yeah, yeah. And I think what added on that second layer to it that kind of helped remove you from that, and made it not as I keep saying, self-masturbatory, is this whole idea that there is a crowd of people watching the events of this
Yes.
film out in the middle of that desert, just with binoculars, and they're just sitting there as if this film is actually about like a group of people or film students or a comedy troupe putting on some live performance for these people, like out in the middle of nowhere, and they get to sit there and watch it as if it's this like, oh, it's this new art thing from,
Yeah. Or it's like
right?
they've been sold tickets to like a sport.
Yeah,
Like they're all up there with their binoculars watching and commentating, and
they're not
I d-
commentating, they're just watching the
yeah, like they're just chatting to each other, just like, oh, I wonder what he's gonna do next.
right, yeah.
Like there's one guy who has a camcorder, and the woman turns to him and says, "You're not allowed to film the film. That's
It's
piracy.
illegal.
You'll get arrested." And I don't know if it's clear up until then. Like clearly there's something preposterous going on. Like they're all standing in the same position, but they can see everything the tire sees. They can see
Right,
inside buildings that are miles away.
right.
So like there's something outside of our normal laws of reality that is happening. But I that might be the first time where it's like, oh, okay. You are watching a movie. You're watching the same movie I'm watching, but the movie I'm watching also has you watching the movie in it.
Yeah. And so it's this like super strange, like at first, yeah, it is this, we're gonna make this
Mhm.
artsy fartsy film about this, no reason, things will happen and there's no reason behind it. But then I think adding this layer to it kind of just makes fun of exactly what you and I are doing right now.
Yeah.
And it's just this, it's this critique on, look, you don't need to analyze everything. You don't
Yeah.
need to, there doesn't need to be a reason. You don't need to sit down and be like, well, I think this represents the existential duality of man and like, no. Shut the fuck up. Like, you don't need to do that. Like, it's a movie about a tire. Just have fun.
Yeah. Right? And even down to like, okay, so the tire, a woman drives past the tire. Tire, in its own weird way, falls for woman. The woman is at motel. The tire, like her door is slightly ajar, so the tire kind of bumps in there, and you see the woman like get into the shower. And then the spectators are like, that's a great butt. And then another guy's like, I mean, it's not that great. And the first guy's like, are you kidding me? You're hard to please. That's a great butt. And then the old woman's like, I don't know about the butt, but great rack on her. Yeah. Like, it's also like, we're not going to think too much about the implications of what kind of sexual drive does a tire have? What does it mean when the tire looks at the woman take a shower? It's just like, wow, butt.
Yeah. So like that in like, which is the funny thing, because it is this meta critique of like, oh, here's a literal group of people who are acting like they are critics, and they are the ones like not only watching this film, but they're like the people putting on the performance almost want to please them, it seems like, throughout the film, right? So there's this idea of these guys, like they want this film to do well, but at the scene they know exactly what you're gonna be thinking, which I'll be honest is exactly what I was thinking. I was like, oh man, she has a nice ass, and then like the first thing they say was like, oh man, she has no ass. And I was like, what are you talking about? And then she's sitting there like, well, she does have a great rack. And I'll be like, I mean, yeah, but you barely saw it. You saw some side boob. Like, how can you like? And so like it's me like right there in with them, and I'm just like, god damn it, they got me. Like,
they've got all our numbers. They know we're not thinking about any greater meaning. We're just like, man, nice butt on the lady. Congratulations on having that butt. I hope you enjoy having it in your life.
Exactly. And just for me to react that hard to like me being like, man, she has a nice butt, and the first thing they say is, man, she doesn't have a nice butt, and I'm like, yeah, what are you talking about?
Yeah, like they just immediately wrap you into, you are the spectator. The spectators are you, and you are the spectators. And there's that level of just simple, like, knee-jerk reaction. It's a butt. Let's just talk about the butt going on.
Right.
But there is something going on. Like, the tire watches her get in the shower. And later, when the Martina, the maid, finds Robert, he is in a shower also. Like, he somehow made a shower for himself, and then
trying to learn, it seems.
Yeah, and like he like dives into the pool. And I also love that they're like, well, should a tire sink or float? And like they're all arguing about it, because he sinks down to the bottom of the pool like it's The Graduate.
God, it, like, I can see so many different films in just like small moments of different films in this, like that the whole argument of will it sink or float, when it's like, hey, I just saw this woman in the pool. What if I get in the pool? And but like it reminds me of Monty Python and the Holy Grail, where it's just is it an African swallow or a European swallow? Yes! And once again, it's just like, it doesn't matter, dude. Shut up, just get on with it. Like, yeah. It's so good. And then then to add on to the shower scene, it does almost remind you of Psycho. Like, here's this thing that is going around killing things, and here is this woman in the shower, and it is creeping up on this woman. Now, it only stands back and watches, but it
stays in the doorway, never goes up to her.
Right, but it's still just this like classic like, uh-oh, someone's about to die, what's happening here? And it's just like, hey, there's a horror film named Psycho that has a very famous shower
Yeah.
scene, right? And so that's like the first thing that comes to mind with
Mm-hmm.
that. And then just the mix of comedy and like the way they take it so straight
Mm-hmm.
faced, and just like it almost reminded me of Napoleon Dynamite,
Yes, I got that vibe too. Just
right?
like these big open, like these barren plains, and it's like, who lives out here? What is your life? And it is much like Napoleon Dynamite, just all these sort
Mm-hmm.
of oddball, very blunt, plain people.
Yeah, yeah. Just no form of sarcasm or comedy. It's all just
Yeah.
they take everything so seriously. It's really funny. Um, let's see, what was I gonna say? And just the setting itself almost reminds me of like No Country for Old Men.
Oh.
I think is the film I'm doing. So one of the spectators is Ethan Cohen. So it kind of reminds me of the Cohen brothers, like their style of films
It's got this
and stuff like
dryness
that.
to
I
it.
don't know
Yeah.
if that's the same Cohen.
I
I
don't I
don't
don't
think
know
it
if that's
is,
this
but
I don't think that's the same spelling of Cohen, but
it
I
it
don't know.
it might not be. But I like that's just what my mind goes to, since it's such a
Yes.
recognizable name, and it did like the Cohen brothers makes they make films like that, which often have this very straight faced, often black comedy, dark
Yeah.
humor. So it has that aspect in there too. So it's like there's so many things. I'm like, that's from this film. That's from this film.
Yes.
That
Like
reminds me of that.
this is a preposterous premise, but you can tell the people making it like know what they're doing. It
Yeah.
is technically very well made. I really every like the cinematography is great. I really like the music and the sound design
Mhm.
in this movie. The premise, I you really can't beat it for what it is. I love that this movie completely owns up to what it is and it sets the tone immediately, and that's where it stays.
Yeah.
Like it knows exactly what game it's playing, which I think is
Yeah.
really admirable. Like you have got the weirdest, most unnecessary mission possible, but you are so well equipped to succeed at that mission.
Yeah. Yeah. I liked it a lot. Um I kind of wanted to talk about the yeah, we've talked about the opening scene. We've talked about the meta layer that there is this like peanut gallery
Yeah.
watching the film. I also kind of wanted to talk about the scene where I the cop, the
I
sheriff dude. I don't remember his
don't
name.
remember his name either.
Let's see here. I'm on Wikipedia. A sheriff named Chad.
Chad.
Chad the sheriff. When they find the body of the maid,
Yes.
right? And there's this scene where he's like, "All right, wrap it up. We can go home. We solved it. We put the tire in the pool. It sank. It's just a tire.
Yeah, well,
Nothing happened here."
he's doing this. Sorry to interrupt you, but to backtrack a little bit. So the briefcase guy who really reminded me of the rules from Serenity,
Yeah,
crossed with that one guy
that's
from
also a weird
Happy.
film.
So this is I feel like I could draw lines from this to every other weird thing we've covered over the last year.
Right?
So briefcase guy, This is something I specifically remember my brother telling me about this movie all these years ago. He's like, yeah, like, I'd heard a bit about the tire, but I didn't know that there's all these people out in the desert with binoculars watching the tire. And at one point, a guy just rolls up and throws a turkey at them, and they all fight to devour this turkey. And then the turkey's poisoned and they all die. So Briefcase Man throws a poisoned, like fully baked, like holiday turkey in a garbage bag towards this group of spectators.
No, it's not even in a garbage bag, right? Doesn't he just toss it out there?
I think no, it's in a garbage bag, and then he like upends the garbage bag, and it dumps on the ground, and then that dad picks it up. It's also like Napoleon Dynamite, like, Tina, get the food, food, Tina. So they all fight. It's this horrible, like, animalistic fight, just grabbing at a full holiday turkey. Yes, yes. So this turkey is poisoned. And later, the briefcase guy goes up to Sheriff Chad and says, they've all been killed, sir. And the sheriff's like, all right, here we go.
Except and one.
We find out about later. Yes, yes. So then the sheriff's like, oh, the spectators are all dead. The audience is dead. We can stop acting like this is a movie. We can stop this entire premise we're living in. He's like, okay, guys, go home. And they're like, no, there's a dead body over there, Sheriff. We've got something to do. And he's like, no, you don't. This is all fake. And like, you're seeing all of these other police officers and like, CSI workers from like the chest up. And he's like, Doug, look at you. You've got a stuffed toy alligator under your arm.
Like,
would you have that if would you have that if you weren't in a movie? And it pans down. He just has this alligator. There's like 3 layers to this movie. There's Robert, and just the basic premise you've heard. Tyre develops psychokinetic scanners powers and rolls around exploding things. And there's the spectator, like, meta level. And then there's this other fine level of just every other weird thing that got tossed in there. Like, there's a scene where that girl, I don't remember if she has a name. There's a scene where the girl is at a diner and she's drinking a glass of orange juice. And then you see her pour the rest of the orange juice over like her breakfast platter. Sheila. Okay. She pours her orange juice over the breakfast platter like it's syrup or something. And then she stands up and she walks out of the diner and she pushes the door to the diner
just
over.
Falls off. Yeah.
She just shoves it like it is like a high school play set.
Yeah.
That fine level of just, we didn't have to do this, but here you go. Here's just bonus weirdness thrown in.
Yeah. And here's where I think like people can get lost in this film trying to find metaphors in things and stuff like that, because even the whole idea of the audience dying and then them being like, all right, well, if no one's here, let's go home. Like, it is this idea of like all art is somehow meant to be consumed by other people somehow, some way. And if there is no one else to consume it, sure, you can still make it, but is there really any value to it in the performative sense? Like, not really, right?
Yeah.
Who knows? I might be wrong, but like that's one of those things. Sure, you can say that. You can be like, oh, well, this represents the idea of how if there is no audience there, then all art has to be this and that and blah, blah, blah. And it's just like, dude, no reason. They were just like, what if we just kill them all?
Yeah.
What if we poison them with a turkey? What if, right? And it's...
So I do want to say, I think you're kind of right, because there is something about this movie where it's like, who would want to watch this? Answer the Wilkinsons. Well, it's like, who would want to watch this? That's the point. People are going to want to watch this movie because who would want to watch it? This is so ridiculous. Even a movie as strange and as incredibly specific and individually passionate as this movie is, it does still have that reaction. It has that thing to it where it's like, we want to see what people think about this. Oh, imagine people when they think about the movie's about a killer tire? A sentient tire?
Yeah.
Not even a whole car like in Christine, just one tire?
Don't uh is it this film or was it something else I was watching? It may have been an episode of Bob's Burgers. But they mentioned something about like a sentient car, and they're like, "Oh, it's kind of like how Herbie was this scary sentient car," and they're just like, "No, he wasn't. He's the love bug. Like he's not evil." Right? It might have been something else, but you just reminded me of that. Um, so I'm looking through. Oh, go ahead.
No, we were talking about the poison food.
Mm-hmm.
I want to talk about. So there's one guy. It's that man in the wheelchair who does not eat the poison turkey. Yeah. So he's the one spectator left alive. So they have to the sheriff tried to tear down the entire facade, and then he finds out there's one spectator left alive, and he has to put it back together again. He made one of his other officers.
Crisis.
Made one of his other officers shoot him. No, this is a play. It's play acting. Nothing's real. Shoot me. I'm not bleeding. Nothing hurts. And the second he hears somebody else is still alive, he starts bleeding.
He's like, oh my God, now everything hurts.
Which is really cool. But so then the briefcase guy brings he wheels out this covered in a white placemat, and there's the silver dome. He wheels out a beautiful meal to the man in the wheelchair, and he's describing all of it. And of course, we all know that's also poison. The man eats none of it. But then the briefcase guy just starts eating it, even though he knows it's poisoned.
Right, yeah.
He's in on the entire scheme. What's he doing?
And that's the thing. That's what happens in real life too. So again, you can go in to be like, oh, well, this represents this thing in life, and this is the artist's relationship with their own work and critiquing themselves, and they are often their own worst enemy, and they just want you to understand this. And so he's partaking in the same thing that they were doing by analyzing the film and just eating it up. And it's just, it's just so you can look into all of that, but it's just
that, and it's also wouldn't it be funny if he ate the food that we know he knows is poisoned?
Exactly.
He's just eating chocolate eclairs, and then he tells a story about how he killed his brother with a rock.
It's like this almost like Cain and Abel story of and he's sitting there, he's like, oh God, now my stomach hurts. Why did you make me do this?
There's no bearing on anything the story he tells. It's just I forget if it's before or after he figures out that he's dying. I think it's before, and he's just sitting there bored, talking to the man in the wheelchair who is not moved, is still staring out these binoculars.
Yeah, because that's the thing. There are people out there who don't necessarily critique the stuff. They just want to sit there and watch it. And that's exactly what that one guy is doing. He's like, man, this is so bad. This is so dumb, but I'm having fun just sitting here watching this. Finish the story.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just the whole idea of this meta aspect is kind of beyond him, and so it's really funny.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to talk a little bit more about Robert the tire, Robert the rubber tire.
I'm sorry. I just love when the sheriff goes to his fellow police officers, is like, okay, he takes a tire off another car and says, this is our murder victim. No, this is our murderer. This is what he looks like. Look for this. And they're asking all these questions okay, is it worn? What brand is it? And doesn't one guy raise his hand and say, is this also a black tire? You got some with white stripes, but they don't come in any other primary color. I think they all are.
Yeah. So I'm looking here on the Wikipedia page, looking at the production section. So I'm not exactly sure what. I guess, let's see. Apparently, in an interview, with the director in Cinema Blend. Um, the director says that during the writing process, the tire, Robert, was designed solely as a bad guy with no redeeming qualities. While shooting, however, they said Dupieux. Is that how you say his last name?
Pew?
Quentin Dupieux. Yeah. Determined that this was the wrong approach, realizing there's nothing evil about a tire, and he based this partly on early camera tests. Robert was reworked to be more like a stupid dog. All right, so let me rephrase. Robert was reworked to be, quote, more like a stupid dog, and quote, the 2008 animated film Wall-E, specifically the first act, was also an influence on the character.
I see that. That's it. That was something it reminded me of. Just how much time is spent in silence and exploration and falling in love with something foreign to you. That's exactly like Wall-E.
Good. So I haven't seen Wall-E in forever. So I saw that just skimming through here because Wall-E is in all caps and it's a link, so it stands out on the internet Wikipedia page thing, and I read that and I was just like, I don't remember Wall-E enough to do this. I was hoping you would be able to explain. So
I
good.
see
So
it.
yeah,
I see exactly what's happening here.
Now I remember, that the whole like first 30-40 minutes of Wall-E is silent and he's just roaming around exploring and figuring things out, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. Interesting.
Another thing that's neat about this movie and about the spectators' relationship to the story of Robert is that all of them immediately get, this is a male tire. He is a he. Look at that guy. Like we've called it sometimes because we think of it more as like, very well could be, but like every single spectator without any discussion all agrees he the tire. And I just like that there is no discussion about that they're all like, yep, tire's a boy.
Yeah.
Even before like he falls in love with the lady and they've got that to base it off of, like the second he's alive they're like, it's a boy, tire. We had a tire, it's a boy.
That also may be just out of the like writing habits, because I know in school they always taught us if you don't know the gender, you just pick one and go with it, right? Which is not necessarily the case. Like language has changed now, so that's like it can be it can be the day, it can be it can be something else. It doesn't have to be that, but yeah, they just go straight to he.
Yeah, and that's like we have called Robert it from our perspective, living in a more normal world where we're used to tires being tires and being inanimate, genderless, identityless things. But the spectators don't. The spectators like never call Robert it. They always call him him.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's one of the things, like within the fiction of the film itself, they might know that it is named Robert.
Yeah, maybe this is like whatever led them to being here. They received
Robert.
They received a small synopsis card.
Right.
And in the role of tire today, we have Robert. And they're like, okay, there he is. He is the tire. I just think it's interesting that out of all these little bickering moments that the spectators have with each other, this isn't one of them. This is the one thing they are all on the same page about. They agree on two things. That tire's a boy and we're hungry.
Yeah. Exactly. I also kind of wanted to well, all right, so there's one kind of alternative scene that
Ooh.
takes place during the credits. Let's talk about that real
Oh,
fast,
yes.
and then I want to maybe see if we can identify some things that maybe didn't work so well with the
Mm.
film and stuff like that. So yeah, as the credits roll on this film, we get an alternate take of the very, very first scene. Just from different perspectives and stuff like that. Because when we first see that scene, the sheriff Chad, it looks like he's walking up to the camera, looking directly in the camera,
Yeah.
and talking to you, the viewer. But then there's the way the film is edited, it maybe looks like he was talking to the spectators who were
No, they're
shortly
not
off to the
there
road.
yet. The only person there is Briefcase Guy.
Interesting, because I maybe connected the dots on my own then of just like I thought he was like, I mean, at first I didn't know who he was talking to, but then once we get revealed that, hey, there is this peanut gallery, like, oh, he must have been talking to them, like explaining like, hey, thank you for coming out to our show tonight. Here is the let's set the stage. It is 19 blah 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 blah, and here, he just gives the introduction, and then it's like, all right, here we go. I'm gonna go off, and it starts now, right? So I connected those dots on my own, and I wasn't supposed to.
I might also be misremembering. I'm pretty sure it's just Briefcase Guy that's there. I don't think the spectators come in until after the sheriff leaves, because
or at least they're off in some other location, or
like they're still getting
right?
there. Yeah.
But in this alternate take, we see that he is, in fact, not talking to anyone.
Yeah.
He is just talking out in the middle of nowhere. He's not even looking at the briefcase guy. He's off to the side. So it's just like...
Yeah, it's that entire opening monologue again, but the camera's set so it's just like a profile of Chad, and it's looking straight on Briefcase Guy, who's standing over to the side, who is not being spoken to, and is just standing there looking at Chad, just like worried and scared and confused.
Yep. I'm just like, I don't know what is happening here. Is this supposed to be happening?
You just paid me to hand out these binoculars and poison some people and kill the turkey to poison them with.
Right. Good stuff. Good stuff. Yeah, so was there anything about this film that you thought maybe didn't work, or you just didn't connect with you, or something like that?
My least favorite part is that final shot where he rolls up to Hollywood, because that's just it's a flavor of self-referential that didn't work on me. But most of it took me a while to get the tempo of the movie at the beginning, because it starts out so weird, and then it's Robert rolling around, like, sort of getting himself under him, learning to wheel on his own, looking in a puddle, rolling over a plastic bottle, all of that. And you already know the premise, so you already get it. And I'm like, more weirdness, please. More weirdness. More of what I saw earlier. It's a slower burn, more nuanced kind of weirdness. And it's not bad. This movie is playing by such abnormal rules, I do not know how to judge it.
Yeah, it's a strange one for sure. I think for me, the thing that maybe didn't work is the things that we've been talking about that we also thought worked really well. I think this is a very or I guess I've not looked up enough of how this was received, but I would imagine that this film would be very polarizing in the sense that a
Yep.
lot of people would just be like, "This is a stupid film. Why would anyone like this? It's so artsy fartsy, and there's a weird like it's just it's one of those like strange indie films that is
Yeah.
like it's just that's not for everyone, right? So
Mhm.
I think for maybe a more mainstream audience, that's where I would lean on the like it was maybe a little self-masturbatory in the way
Mhm.
it presented this stuff. Like I feel like you could have tackled a lot of those same concepts in something that would be more mainstream or not as
Mhm.
just strange, if that makes sense. I don't know. Like I'm not trying to say that I wanted this to be more mainstream. I think it has a strong identity, and I
Yeah.
think because it is so confident in what it
Yes.
is, that's like, all right, well, you're either gonna like it or you're not, right? Like there is no, it was okay, like I like this bit and that, but
Mhm.
you know, who knows.
Yeah. Something else about the movie that I imagine might be due to the fact that it's a like a co-French production
Mm-hmm.
is that a lot of the dialogue is kind of stilted and weird. Like you remember when that teenage boy is talking to, it's not clear if that's his dad or his boss, the guy running the motel.
Or
I
his like
don't know.
stepdad or his
Yeah,
uncle or something.
I don't know. But the man's like just very simple sentences like leave me alone, go get me a pizza. And he's like, don't you have homework? And the boy's like, I'm on holidays. Well, go get me a pizza, don't forget the double toppings.
Right,
Like
yeah.
it does not sound natural, but that might be the point. Maybe they did write it in French, give it to a friend of theirs that spoke English to translate it, and the friend's like, I don't know English that well. And then the friend was like, I don't know English that well. And they're like, okay, no, no, no,
That
no, that's
works.
better.
Yeah.
Translate it as best as you can. Let's not polish it.
Yeah.
Or was it intentional? Maybe they do a full grasp of the English language and they're like, we're just going to write it purposefully in this unnatural, stilted way. Go bring me a pizza with double toppings. And like, there's lots of times where people like are not using contractions when they speak.
Right.
Yeah, it's odd,
Because I mean,
but I think I liked it.
yeah, I would say the writing or the dialogue is also an aspect of that film. Like I feel like they put so much care and attention into the premise and the themes of this, that having that dialogue that's just offbeat somehow,
Yes.
right? It has to be on purpose in my mind, because they have a scene where he goes and he gets the pizza, and then there's a guy on the road hitchhiking, and he
Oh
tries to
yeah.
hitchhike, but the kid's on a bike, and just like, dude, why would you try and hitchhike a guy on a bike? Like, that doesn't make any sense. And then the kid stops like 50 feet in front of him, and that's when he finds the dead crow, and then he
Mm.
puts that meat on. It's like, there's your double toppings. And then we don't see what happens with that.
Oh yeah.
I
Yeah, we
wanted
don't
to
see that
know.
guy get the pizza.
I
We don't
wanted
see
to know
where that
what happened.
hitchhiker in the Yes t-shirt is going. We
Yeah.
don't know any of this.
And he
Oh,
just
I
sits there and watches the whole thing. He's just like, what is this kid doing?
there's a when the maid at the motel, when Robert kills the maid, her name's Martina, and Chad is interviewing this motel manager. He's like, what was your relationship with Martina? Did you get along? Did you know her family? And the manager says she has an obese brother. Well, did you know the obese brother? And I'm like, is this a weird mistranslation of obtuse, or is it just like it has absolutely no bearing on anything? And it's not like, why would you say he's obese? It's like, why would you say he's obese? Like, it's just mystifying. It's not offensive.
Yeah.
It's just mystifying because it is so absolutely unnecessary.
Yeah. Yeah, it's strange, that's for sure. Um, I think it also was maybe just a tad bit too long.
It's 82 minutes.
It's actually not that bad, right? It's an hour and 22. Maybe cut 5-10 minutes off of the film. I feel like you could have just tightened up things here and there, just smaller things, but that's it.
I think that's like a limit where it's like, oh, if this was not 80 minutes, nobody would ever take it seriously. We have to at least hit that 80-minute mark to make this a feature film.
Something
Maybe
like
if
that.
it came out today and it was on Netflix or Amazon Prime or something, it could be shorter than feature film length. Amazon Prime, home of such award-winning classics as The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel and The Handmaid's Tale, brings you Rubber.
Who knows? I think that's about all I have to say on the
Yeah.
film. Do you have anything else that you wanted to talk about?
Do I think I'm good? I think I've laid out the basic tenets of this film. I really enjoyed it. It's such a riot. Like, I just watched it by myself last night. It will hook you, you know. Put this on some night when you're bored and you've got an hour and a half to kill. Put this on at a party.
Put it on
Show
when you're drunk, because you'll have a fun
Put
time
it
with that
on
one.
for a date you want to impress. Oh no.
Maybe not that one. Who knows?
It would impress me.
Unless you know that they're into like weird indie films
Put it
and
on
stuff
for a
like that,
date you want to bewilder.
right? Why would you make me watch this?
I'm leaving, Stan.
Right. Let's see. Blah 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 blah. Yeah, I think that's it. That's all that I have to say on the film. Melissa, if you had to recommend some stuff, if people enjoyed this film, what would you recommend?
I would recommend another movie that's got this meta layer to it that is about the nature of watching a story unfold and how does the story behave if it knows it's being watched,
Mhm.
and that's The Truman Show.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Similarly, like very weird. If you're not familiar with it, Jim Carrey plays a man who has been raised from birth in a set, a massive set that's the size of a small town, and it is a small town. Everything he knows, every building he's been to is a set. Every person he knows is an actor. He is the only, I just figured this out last night, here in the year 2019, he is the only true man on the show.
There you go.
Uh-huh. So
Uh-huh.
everybody in the country is watching this. They are wrapped with attention. Like, this is the number one reality show. It's the number one everything. It's the big cultural institution. It's
It
the
should
Super
also
Bowl.
be noted. I mean, I guess we've explained the whole film now with that one, but it should be noted that he does not know.
Oh yeah, no idea. This movie is about him figuring out he is the subject of a TV show, and every moment he has ever lived has been staged and
fake
broadcast.
stage thing. That is a good suggestion. I like that one. I didn't even think of that. I think we mentioned it in the discussion, but I would recommend Napoleon Dynamite.
Yes,
It's
always.
it's not the same genre per se, but it's the same kind of, just they say things that are just a little bit off. They do
Yeah.
things that are just like, why why are they doing that? Like, things happen for seemingly no reason, and it's like there's almost no plot to the film. Like,
Yeah.
it's a slice of life, but it has that same type of dry
Yeah.
humor, dark
A lot of like
comedy.
dry,
Yeah,
blunt, mystifying vignettes
yeah,
out
yeah.
here in this barren wasteland. I feel mean to the state of Idaho, but like there's something about the landscapes of Napoleon Dynamite where it is very flat. It is just farmland and there's nothing tremendously scenic about it. It is boring people in a boring land, which I say with the utmost affection.
If you are a listener from Idaho, we would love for you to prove Melissa wrong.
Oh, please talk to me. I would love to learn about Idaho.
um, yeah. So I would recommend that. Recommend Napoleon Dynamite. That being said, Melissa, it is my turn to
It is your turn.
pitch what we are going to be doing for this next week. So let me pull up my notes here. I have them all listed out, but I might need to pull up some notes on how to do this.
Number one, make a list of 3 things.
Right.
Research 3 things.
Okay, so let me pull up this one. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? No, not that one. Let me do this. So pitch number 1 is Stumptown Volumes 1 and 2.
I saw this coming.
Written by Greg Rucka, Matthew Southworth, and Lee Lawridge. This is a crime detective fiction story. It is a comic that follows. Let's see. This comic book is a modern day detective fiction series based in Portland, Oregon, featuring Dex Partios, a bisexual female private investigator with a gambling problem. It takes place in the same continuity as Greg Rucka's novel Fistful of Rain and the Atticus Kodiak novels, by the virtue of sharing minor characters. So the plot begins in media res with Dex's attempted murder, and then showing the events leading up to this as she attempts to track down the granddaughter of a casino owner who has promised to forgive Dex's heavy debt to the casino from her gambling losses in exchange for the girl's safe return. So yeah, this is a comic by a writer that I really like. I think he's written some fantastic stuff, especially if you like crime stories or stories with very well-written female characters. But there's also a TV show being made of this, and it is airing shortly after we will be recording this. I think the episode, if we end up picking Stumptown, I think our episode will go public for the people on the same day that the new TV show airs. So that will be pretty nifty. But yeah, so that is pitch number 1. I've heard good things about this. Pitch number 2 is an anime series called Tatami Galaxy. Now, I've seen this once before, and I would love to talk to someone about this series. It is only 11 episodes long, but it is weird, not
Yeah.
not like what we just saw, but it is very, very fast paced. It's a
Okay.
little bit of a slice of life mixed with magical realism, mixed
Mm.
with romance,
Oh.
mixed with just so according to Google, it is a psychological fiction romance.
Hmm.
And it's one of those things that it's very strange, weird things are happening, and then there's this kind of twist to it, and you're just like, whoa, what in the world just happened? What is going on? But yeah, when I say that this is fast paced, I would almost have to pause it every so often just to kind of make sure I read all of the subtitles
Aha.
and stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
So it is a mile a minute with this, but I highly recommend it. I would be interested in talking with someone about that, and it has a very stylized art
Yeah.
direction. That should be an interesting one to talk about. And then let's see here if I can pull this up on, no, not Twitter. I want Comixology here. Let me pull it up here. Pitch number 3 is a comic series called Low. This is by Rick Remender and Greg Tocchini, I believe is how you say his last name. I wanted to pitch volume 1 of Low, and the summary is: millennia ago, mankind fled the Earth's surface into the bottomless depths of the darkest oceans, shielded from a merciless sun's scorching radiation. The human race tried to stave off certain extinction by sending robotic probes far into the galaxy to search for a new home among the stars. Generations later, one family is about to be torn apart in a conflict that will usher in the final race to save humanity from a world beyond hope. There we go. So kind of like almost sci-fi space adventure, but taking place underwater. So could be interesting there. Rick Remender is a very well-known comic book writer. He does a lot of good sci-fi, and if I'm not mistaken, he's relaunching all the X-Men books right now.
Oh,
there you go.
How many is that?
I don't know off the top of my head. I actually am
all
not a huge...
the X-Men books could be anywhere from 2 to 17.
I mean, honestly, yeah. The X-Men have their own like corner of the Marvel universe, so that there's like 6 of them or something like that. Who knows?
There's blue, gold, uncanny, canny, astonishing.
And yeah, he's like it's not those ones in particular, but yeah, it is like he is now the creative mind behind the X-Men stuff, if I'm not mistaken. So pitch number 1 is Stumptown Volumes 1 and 2. Pitch number 2 is Tatami Galaxy. And pitch number 3 is Low, Volume 1.
I want to pick Stumptown because somebody mentioned it to me recently just by the title, and I had no idea what it was, and I looked it up, and not even knowing, well, it said there was a TV show coming soon, but I know it was like literally this month, this soon.
Yeah.
But I just read the synopsis, and I'm like, oh, this is a Kyle book.
Yeah.
Kyle's going to pitch this to me, isn't he?
Exactly, yep.
A crime comic, how will he resist?
It's like when you're trying to like lower me into a dark corner or something. It's like, here's a crime book, here's a cyberpunk book, here's a sci-fi book, right?
Here's 2 cotton candies.
Exactly. Sounds good. So we will read Stumptown Volume 1 and 2 for this next week. I was hoping you would pick that one because I am interested in the TV show that is going to be coming out, which stars Colby Smulders, who is, gosh darn it, what's her name in the MCU? Yes, that's it, Maria Hill. My mind's just blank. But yeah, we will be back next week for that. We hope you guys can join us. I will say that 80% of what we are going to be reading of this book is on Comixology Unlimited. Volume 1 is on there, and then I think the next 3 or 4 issues after that are on Comixology, but not the last 2 that are in Volume 2. So we'll have to get those somewhere else, but that won't be a problem. But if you are reading along at home and you have Comixology Unlimited, you can at least read most of it.
Yeah.
So, there you go. We will be back next week with all of that stuff. Melissa, where can the people find you on the internet?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Wilkywit. That's WILKYWIT.
There you go. I am at Yo Kyle Springer on Twitter and Instagram. You guys can find us at the Whatnauts on Twitter for updates about this show or any of our other podcasts. Go to thewhatnauts.com to find out more. Patreon.com/thewhatnauts is where you can support us for as little as $1 a month. You guys can get access to the live streams of this show. You can get episodes early. You can even have some exclusive content, which I think right after this we're about to record an exclusive episode of the Captain's Log, in which we find out which Sailor Scouts we are. It's going to be fantastic. We also want to give a big shout out to our patrons at the $5 tier. So thank you to Sam and Christine for helping us out a ton. It means a lot, and we love you guys for helping us out. So thank you so much. That being said, let's get out of here.
Yes.
We'll be back next week for episode 75. I feel like I've said and
no, this is 75.
Just I more in the sense of I felt like I've almost wrapped up the show 6 times already.
You do this a lot.
You know what? It's it's a habit now. I can't break it.
It's 75 episodes in. I'm going to be saying that being said until I'm a skeleton again.
Exactly. And that being said, let's get out of here for real. We'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much for checking out that episode of the Whatnauts review show. We hope you enjoyed it, because that was a crazy film that we had watched for that one. Leave a comment below, make it something random, and have absolutely no reason for saying it, as long as it's not mean or something like that. In the meantime, though, there is definitely reason for you to go subscribe to our channel right up there, or go watch one of the other videos down there, because we got tons more podcasts where that came from. So go check them out, and we would appreciate that.